Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So back to graphs today, back to a bit of data. So over the last couple of weeks, we've seen some really big VC raises for blockchain game projects. And over the last few years, actually, I've been tracking or trying to track as many of these kind of investments into blockchain games companies as possible, because I'm a sort of numbers guy, I suppose. I don't know. I just like to keep track of these things. So I thought it may be worth doing a quick video about not so much the money being raised, but we can see now some fairly substantial raises coming into blockchain games companies. But there's another thing that the switch we're seeing, I guess, between what was coming from what we could call kind of crypto kind of VC companies or token sales or ICOs, that sort of thing back in the day. And now we're seeing much more traditional venture capital raises, so from the well-known kind of Silicon Valley VC companies now coming into blockchain and blockchain games in a pretty big way. So what we got on this graph here? So this is basically pretty much everything I've got. I've not labelled who they are, but we can maybe go through a few of them. But this is from basically 2017, a bit in 2016 here, 2017 through to 2021 as we are so far. And basically these are all the substantial raises I could see. And what we've got here in red are back here in 2017. These would have been ICOs. So this when companies were just kind of releasing their tokens, and people were buying them with Ether and Bitcoin. Pretty unregulated, pretty unstructured, and we can go through a few of these companies. Some of them are still around, some of them not really. And there is still some of this around. Not really structured like ICOs anymore. So we have these things called IEOs, initial. I don't even know what the term actually is. I've forgotten the term. So ICOs, initial kind of coin offerings, and then kind of IEOs, kind of more to do with kind of an initial kind of launching through crypto exchanges. Yeah, so it would be a initial exchange offering. So that'd be something like Axie Infinity launching its AXS token through Binance. Binance has its own launch pad. A lot of these things are kind of carried out through them, but in fact, most of these blockchain crypto accounts exchanges have a similar sort of thing. There's a few other platforms as well. So the idea here is in red. This is money being raised from crypto enthusiasts from the crypto sector. Crypto whales. And then blue is sort of coming just from people with a lot of dollars, effectively, really, a lot of fiat currency. So we can see sort of back in the day, there were, this is $50 million here, so this is millions of dollars up the vertical scale. And we have, if I look back, we have some things. So we have, we've kind of forgotten about them now, but there was an ICO in April 2017 from Game Credits and Mobile Go, $53 million. These ones are sort of hard to justify the valuation of, because this is the sort of the value they raised in Bitcoin and ETH at the price of Bitcoin and ETH at that time. So obviously, as we all know, Bitcoin and ETH prices are pretty volatile. We don't know when they sold out. So these are sort of nominal prices here. If they were very clever and didn't cash in too much of their crypto and cashed it in kind of in 2021, these would have been much larger sums. But this is kind of the USD that was quoted at the time. So we have things like Game Credit and Mobile Go raised 53 million. We have Engine Coin, obviously Engine still with us, $35 million. We had Wax, again still with us as a pretty successful blockchain, $46 million. These are all selling tokens. And then sort of the last big one of these is this one here, $66 million from Chiliz, which are definitely still with us. That they're running the Socios platform, which is a sort of loyalty scheme. It's particularly football clubs are sort of generating their own tokens based around a loyalty scheme, and Chiliz is the platform behind it. So there's other stuff they can do around esports as well. That was like the last big ICO raise, 66 million. And then we can see here, and actually, I should say even in this space, there are some sort of big traditional raises. So Theta Labs, again, been a massive success, doing kind of streaming video content delivery network using blockchain. Yeah, they raised a $37 million traditional VC round. I think there was a bit of token stuff in there as well, actually. But we can see here, that it wasn't like the VCs were never involved. But basically after 2017 into 2018, not a lot of kind of ICO stuff, a little bit of kind of token sale sort of stuff going on. So let's have a look. I think these ones here, we had sort of trying to see, looking on my ICO thing, what do we have? So in November 2020, we had Dapper Labs did an $18 million raise, and in this one here is in March of 2021. Engine again did a $19 million private sale of tokens. So there are still these sort of kind of raises either to crypto investors or to crypto VCs. But $20 million is it's kind of small beer. Obviously, another big trend to notice is sort of from kind of 2018, 2019, mainly into half of 2020. Not a lot was going on. There were not a lot of big raises going on. These were sort of raises of desperation. These are either kind of seed rounds where people are kind of coming up with an idea and launching it, getting a few million just to kind of get the idea up and running. Obviously, 2020 came in. That seemed to kind of slow down investment. Certainly, VC investment slowed down, I think, in early 2020. But now we can see, even actually into you can start to see sort of in late 2020, we started to see the VC stuff picking up. So we had, again, Dapper Labs raised 12 million in a VC round, and then we have really the explosion happens in 2021. So the big ones there, we have the company behind IMVU, the sort of kind of avatar kind of Second Life kind of platform, now called Together Labs. They raised 35 million. Then we had SoRare doing 50 million. So that's these two here. So this is early 2021. We're starting to see these big kind of investor VC types. Should point out some of these investors. One of the big investors here in some of these is Galaxy Interactive, which actually got its money from the EOS token launch back in the day. So Block One raised a ton of money. Was it $4 billion from the EOS token launch, and Galaxy kind of were sort of part of that. So they've been quite active in the game space, not particularly, as far as I can tell, funding blockchain games. So there is even in this kind of blue thing, there is a little bit of overlap, but some of this money, in the case of Galaxy Interactive, has come from crypto, but it's sort of coming through an institutional source rather than the crypto source. So I'll put it in blue. And then we start to have these really big, these big enormous things coming in here. So again, mentioned before, Dapper Labs. So Dapper Labs has done a lot of different rounds, and then with NBA Top Shot being incredibly successful in the first kind of the first kind of 2 or 3 months of 2021, it exploded. It's kind of calmed down a little bit since then, but we have this enormous round, this $305 million round for Dapper Labs to scale out the Flow blockchain and all the stuff it's doing. Very, very substantial sum of money. Although I have to say, Dapper Labs has gone through the usual rounds. It's gone through kind of seed and Series A and various funding rounds. So the amount is definitely a lot, but it's kind of within context. It sort of makes sense. Still some crypto stuff going on here. Still, mainly small. But say Engine did a $20 million private sale of its tokens. So that is still available for crypto companies up to a certain amount, I suppose. But we're not seeing any of the 50 million sort of rounds anymore. Then we have Animoca Brands doing its famous $88.888 million, $88 million, almost $89 million in a kind of standard VC round. And then just recently we've had Forte doing $185 million, that was a big surprise. Forte is a very secretive company, at least at the moment. Not secretive maybe, but not been a lot of publicity around that. So that was quite a big raise. Just because we hadn't heard very much of them, and they've done a fairly small Series A, I believe. So that's kind of what we've got going on. One more graph. So this is just cumulative. So obviously you start at zero. Back, this is the same time frame. So late 2016, early 2017, we start from zero, and you can kind of see that there's there's no VC, there's no kind of traditional VC stuff going on really. So all this is being driven by, this is the ICO boom. So the ICO boom cumulatively across a lot of companies, granted, is pretty substantial. So we're sort of well up here into kind of, getting on for $350 million of funding into the blockchain game space. Not a lot of this kind of came through to anything. So if I run through some of the companies who raised here, I mean, Theta Labs has done okay. So we had First Blood, who are still going, but I don't think they've got any scale. Game Credit's sort of gone. Decentraland, I mean, they're still there, but I'm not quite sure if they're the presence they once were. Engine is still going, but they've done lots of rounds. Unicorn, they got fined for the SEC for their unstructured round. Wax certainly been done well. D-Market, they're still there. They've done a traditional round as well. Referium, I guess, one of the big ones that hasn't really made it out and have kind of restructured. Play to Live, don't hear very much about them anymore. The Abyss, which is kind of PC games, kind of Steam-like project, don't hear much about them. Russia, Chili's has been successful, maybe not doing exactly the things they said they're going to do at the moment in the ICO. So we can kind of see that ICO boom there's not a lot of strong companies that I don't think have come out of that. I guess you could argue Wax is one that has kind of fulfilled some of its promise at least. But then we can kind of see the trending, the investment line from the blockchain crypto space sort of doesn't really increase very much. That was the point. That was the explosion, and there's been a few little things, but not much has happened. The VC stuff, it's been building up slowly, and then we get the crossover point here, which is basically the Dapper Labs kind of round, that happened. If I find my date, so that was March 2021 is the big crossover point. And you can kind of see, we go from about 300 million here, it basically goes straight up, and now well into approaching $1 billion, $900 million. So that's kind of the cumulative thing. So we can kind of see, it's positive in a way. I think the blockchain game space that it got funding sort of when it needed it. Maybe not the best projects back in the day through ICOs, but now we can kind of see the big institutional money, the big VCs are coming in, and actually some VCs who wouldn't necessarily have invested in games before are now coming into the space. So they're seeing it as much more disruptive than just games. They're seeing it as blockchain entertainment, and the ability to sort of get into a new paradigm very early. So I think we'll just continue to see this rise. Easily will break $1 billion of VC. It's cumulative, obviously. We could even break $1 billion in 2021. So total investment into the blockchain game space at the moment is, I make it $759 million. I'd be very surprised if we don't hit over $1 billion this year. That compares to 69 million in the whole of 2020. So we can see there is probably a factor of 10. Well, it's a factor of 10 already. When we're halfway through the year, so not even halfway through the year. So there we go, some numbers about investments. If you find that interesting, I hope you found it interesting. Thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel, and see you again soon.